All right, today we're taking a deep dive into one of the body's most misunderstood parts, the appendix.
Welcome to We Are False.
The show where we explore the stories and facts that go against the grain, the ones that really challenge what you think you know.
And for this explainer, we are definitely tackling a piece of conventional wisdom that's been around for over 100 years. So let's just ask the big question right up front. What if the body's most famous useless organ isn't actually useless at all?
Okay, so first things first, we've got to understand the myth itself. I mean, why did so many of us grow up believing the appendix was just this ticking time bomb waiting to go off inside us?
Well, for pretty much as long as modern medicine has been a thing, the appendix has been the total black sheep of our anatomy. Just this evolutionary leftover with a really nasty habit of getting inflamed and turning into a huge medical emergency.
And this idea, it goes way, way back. We're talking Charles Darwin himself. He was the one who first proposed that it was just a shrunken remnant of a much larger organ that our leafy green munching ancestors needed. The logic was, once our diet changed, the organ just became obsolete.
And that right there is where we get the term vestigial organ, an organ that's basically become functionless through evolution. And for decades, this wasn't just a fun theory. No, this was straight up medical dogma. But what if that dogma was just plain wrong?
So the first real clues that this old story might be wrong came from the very same field that condemned it in the first place, evolution.
And it all starts with this one simple question that just unravels the whole myth. Think about it. If the appendix were really useless and on its way out evolutionarily, you'd expect it to be super rare, right? A disappearing feature. But what we see is the exact opposite.
The evidence is just in its sheer persistence. The appendix has evolved independently more than 30 separate times across all sorts of different mammal groups. It pops up in orangutans, wombats, beavers, you name it.
And it's not just that it keeps appearing. Get this. Once a species develops an appendix, it almost never goes away. It's been maintained for over 80 million years in at least one evolutionary line. Come on, that is not a mistake. That's a feature, and that means it's providing some kind of real survival advantage.
In fact, one French study found this really remarkable correlation. Mammals that have an appendix tend to live longer. And the most likely reason why? Well, it seems to help them survive deadly gut infections, which are a huge cause of death in the wild, especially for young animals.
Okay, so what is this critical function that evolution keeps selecting for over and over again? Well, that brings us to some pretty groundbreaking modern research.
And this is where we see a fundamental shift in how we think about this. Research, especially from Duke University Medical Center, completely reframed the appendix. It's not a useless leftover, it's a vital safe house for all the good bacteria living in our gut.
And here's the brilliant way it works. Just think of it like a reboot system for your gut. Let's say a bad illness or a strong course of antibiotics just completely wipes out your gut microbiome. Well, the appendix acts like a little sanctuary. Its unique, kind of dead-end shape protects a sample of your good bacteria inside this sliming layer called a biofilm. Then, after the storm has passed, those good bacteria emerge, they repopulate your gut, and they get your whole digestive system back online. Pretty cool, right?
And it's not just a theory, we have some powerful clinical evidence to back this up. Just look at this data on C. diff, which is a really nasty infection that can pop up after antibiotic use. Studies have found that people who don't have an appendix are up to 4 times more likely to suffer from recurrent infections. That is a huge, huge difference.
But wait, there's more. The appendix is also a total immunological powerhouse. It's a key part of what scientists call gut-associated lymphoid tissue, or GALT for short. Its walls are just packed with immune cells that are busy producing antibodies, like IgA, that help manage all the microbes in your gut. And when you're young, it acts like a little boot camp, basically educating your immune system on which bacteria are friends and which are foes.
Now, all of this raises a really big question, right? If the appendix is so important, why do so many people seem totally fine after having it removed? Well, the answer to that is actually what reinforced the original myth for so long.
The truth is, a lot of people have an appendectomy, and they feel no obvious negative effects. And this is probably a testament to just how resilient our bodies are, and also the fact that in our modern societies with good sanitation and hygiene, the need for that emergency reboot system is just way, way lower than it used to be.
But the picture is a bit more nuanced than that. If you listen to what people say, you'll find that for some, the story is very different. You hear from individuals who directly link the start or the worsening of chronic digestive issues like IBS right to their appendectomy.
And this aligns perfectly with the safe house theory. Without that bacterial backup, the gut is just more vulnerable.
So what's the big takeaway here? Well, if you don't have an appendix, it doesn't mean you're doomed or anything, but you might just need to be a little more diligent about taking care of your microbiome, especially after you've been sick or had to take antibiotics. Focusing on probiotic-rich foods, think yogurt, kefir, stuff like that, can really help your system bounce back.
All right, so let's bring this all together. It's time to completely reevaluate this little organ that we were all so quick to just dismiss as useless. The verdict is pretty clear, isn't it? The appendix is not a useless evolutionary relic. It's more like a silent guardian, a really sophisticated biological insurance policy that's been serving mammals for millions of years, just quietly waiting in the wings until it's needed most. The story of the appendix is such a powerful lesson in how science works. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other scientific facts that we all take for granted are just sitting there, waiting to be completely overturned?